Well, I want to welcome everyone. This is a special presentation, and if you know me, you know I've been around this business for a long, long time. I started way back in 1961 studying Napoleon Hill's great material. And my life changed so dramatically. I have never stopped studying the material, and I'm absolutely fascinated with it. In fact, I think I'm more fascinated with it today than I was when I first started to study it. And I started working in the business around 44 or 45 years ago. Pardon me. And we have attracted some phenomenal people. We work with companies all over the world, do work with companies all over the world. We have facilitators in many different countries, and this is just a great opportunity. Back around 2006, a lady entered our seminar and changed the course of our company. Her name's Sandra Gallagher. Today she is the president and chief executive officer of the Life Success Group of companies. And she'll be making a presentation tonight because it is her doing that we built the program Thinking into Results. Sandra Gallagher came from a very interesting background. She was a banking attorney and one of the best in the country. In fact, the year she graduated from university, about 20 years ago, 25 years ago maybe now, she was the #1 banking student, banking law student in all of the United States. She studied in Great Britain and in America. She, of course, had her pick of law firms, and she chose a firm on Wall Street. She then went to Washington, D.C., worked, and then to the West Coast, where she was working when I met her and when she joined our company. But I'll give her a more formal introduction with respect to Thinking into Results a little later. But Sandy, I'm glad to have you here and glad to have you in the company.
Thank you, Bob. Hello, and I want to welcome everybody. I'm sure you're going to love this presentation. I'll be back on later. Right now, I'm just going to turn it right over to Bob.
Well, as we get into this, I want you to try and gain an understanding of what it is that we do. And when people in a company become more productive, the increase in profits go right to the bottom line. Now just think of that for a moment. They're not buying any new systems. They're not building any new buildings. You're not buying any new furniture. The people are just becoming more productive. And for over 40 years, Life Success Productions has been assisting corporations from around the world to substantially increase their productivity. Now, although we believe that the first order of business is profit, since a company cannot survive without profit, we don't believe it's the purpose of any human organization. I believe the purpose of all human organizations is to make life more meaningful. That philosophy is shared by Sandra Gallagher, our present CEO, and myself. And so as we get into this material and share this with you, I think you'll see that this is pretty special stuff that we've got. And as we go into it, I want to suggest that becoming a certified facilitator consultant is a unique opportunity. This is a dynamic industry that is really just coming into its own. It's a relatively new industry. Personal development, as we know it as an industry, is only a little over 50 years old. I was in it right at the very start. The Nightingale Conant Corporation were the ones that really broke this industry wide open with Earl Nightingale's material, and I was fortunate enough to spend 5 years working with Earl Nightingale and Lloyd Conant. So it is a relatively new industry, but it's well on its way. Companies are waking up to the fact that there's tremendous potential locked up within individuals. And so I'm going to ask you to sit back and relax and really listen carefully to this. This can be done on a part-time basis or a full-time basis, depending on how you want to approach it. But there's tremendous satisfaction in this business. And as you look at this, you're going to see that thinking and result facilitators get results for their clients. This is one of the most powerful programs that you'll ever find. And we can also quickly say that thinking and result facilitators are a step ahead of the crowd. And there's things different here. A thinking and result facilitator has the best material and the best training in the world in this industry. We have, without question, some of the greatest experience of any corporations. So when you think of this program and when you hear how it was built with some tremendous experience, you'll understand why it gets such phenomenal results. You know, a number of years ago, James Lincoln, when he was president of Lincoln Electric, said companies have historically left their greatest resource largely untapped. And that resource is the intelligence, the initiative, the productive power latent in every individual. Now, I believe there's a reason for this. I think corporate training programs have followed the pattern that school has followed. School is interested in you getting information and remembering it so you can repeat it. And if a person does that, then they considered to be an educated person. Now, nothing could be further from the truth. Education comes from inside. It comes from the Latin educo, meaning to educe, to develop, or to draw out from within. And what school doesn't do is teach us about paradigms and how they control our life. The Thinking and Result program that you would be involved in has a very powerful foundation on 4 different points. The Thinking and Result program, Facilitator Consulting Opportunity, focuses on these 4 points. And the first one is on paradigms. And we help people understand how paradigms are literally controlling their life. The paradigms are nothing but a multitude of habits. They're genetically passed along from the moment of conception and then environmentally programmed into the infant's mind. Paradigms control individuals, control families, control companies, and control nations. You see, culture is nothing but group habit, and group habit is paradigm. So this program explains what paradigms are. We explain how the paradigm is built and how it can be changed. And when that happens, an individual's perception of themselves and the world they live in totally shifts. And as their perception changes, they see themselves different. Our perception is our point of view. It's how we see things. And we start to see things totally different. A new awareness is spawned. And with that new perception, we start to become aware of the tremendous power that's our birthright. We are God's highest form of creation. We are given faculties beyond the scope of our imagination, but have never been really trained on how to develop them. This is where our educational system falls down tremendously. People go right through our educational system and come out and know virtually nothing about themselves. And as they start to become aware of this power and how to utilize it, how to direct it, profits become automatic. You see, profit is an honorable word. It's a word received when you provide service. And as you increase the service, the profits increase. So as we get into this, you've got a very solid foundation as a facilitator consultant with our organization. Our company has a great reputation worldwide. Now, there's one basic point that we focus on to start with, anyone that we're working with. If you choose to become a facilitator consultant with our company, you'll be working with this program and you'll be working with clients. You have an opportunity to earn ridiculous sums of money, but it's the satisfaction you get that's the big win. See, there's 2 things that you must know if you want to improve your performance. You have to know where you are, and you have to know where you're going, and then you've got to get moving. Now, this is so simple and so obvious, you have to ask, why are so many people stuck? And most people would say, well, it's lack of goals. And that could be partially true. But I don't think that's really it. The goal may not be really articulated upon and may not be in writing, but I think people have an idea of what they want. That's not the problem. The problem is right here. People don't know where they are. They don't know who they are. We're not taught this in school. All school wants to know, did you gather what's in that book? Not how do you perform with it. I read a number of years ago where a great author said no amount of reading or memorizing is going to make a person successful in life. It is the understanding and application of wise thoughts that count. Well, understanding and application was not part of the system. And neither was understanding paradigms, how they control us or how to change them. And so that's what we want to look at, and that's part of what we look into here. And you have to ask yourself, what are paradigms and how do they control us? Well, paradigms shape our logic. They definitely shape our logic, and we're controlled by logic. You don't want to be illogical. You don't want to be, unrealistic. But the truth is, if you let logic control you, you won't go beyond where you're at because your paradigm controls your logic. The Wright brothers were totally illogical. They were totally unrealistic. Edison was totally unrealistic. None of these people were logical. They were illogical. They were unrealistic. And you see, that's what paradigms do. You know that paradigms control our time. They control our time. Everybody gets the same amount of time. We get all there is. Well, as a facilitator consultant, you're going to make people aware of that. No one gets any more amount of time. Time cannot be managed. You have time management programs. That's almost comical. There's no such thing as time management. Time cannot be managed. We can only manage activity. And as we start to understand this, we become much more effective. We start to understand paradigms. We start to see how they're controlling us. Our productivity skyrockets. Why? Because our perception has changed. We look at ourselves different. We look at our world different. And then, of course, our income changes. Our ability to earn money changes dramatically. Go back there. Now, we have to ask ourselves, what are paradigms? Paradigms are a multitude of habits. But they're other people's habits that have been passed on from one generation to the next. It's rather sad that we're not taught this, but we're not. And we've got to get past that. We have to understand how the mind works. And as we start to understand how the mind works, everything changes. Now, here's a good question. What does your mind look like? That's a question that no one's ever been able to answer. In all the history of civilization, no one has ever seen the mind. A lot of people think of their brain as their mind. Their brain isn't their mind. Their brain is an electronic switching station. Mind is an activity. The brain is an electronic instrument. As you activate brain cells, you set up electric charges. That's what causes the body to move. This is so interesting and so important. Well, you see, because we don't understand the mind, people become very confused. Now, some people stay that way, others don't. Out of confusion will come order if you're seeking it. And it would be a higher degree of order than that which you existed prior to the confusion. So, let's take a look at the mind and at paradigms, because this is the subject we deal in. It's a fascinating subject. It changes children's marks in school. It strengthens relationships. It helps people earn fortunes, live the way they choose to live, become free, which is our birthright. But most people are not free. They're being controlled by conditions and circumstance. So I'm going to ask you to take a look at your mind and your paradigm. And if you start to see some wisdom in this, then start to think, who do you know that could benefit from this? And the answer will be, everyone can benefit from this. It's so fascinating. Now, there was a doctor in San Antonio, Texas, back in 1934, Dr. Truman Fleet, who was very involved in the healing arts, and he was very unhappy. He stated the mind's an activity. It's not a thing. No one has ever seen the mind. However, We must have an image or there's no order in the mind. He said, I'm going to create an image of the mind. And it'll eliminate confusion. And then we will be in the position to treat the whole person. You see, we live simultaneously on 3 planes of understanding. And it's pretty fascinating, you know. Now, he said, here, I'll give you an instrument. Here's an instrument that you can call the stick person. And we'll say that represents the mind. And he said the mind is divided into 2 parts. You have the conscious mind, the subconscious, and the body. Now think about this for a moment. How does this work? Well, let's look at it. Okay, let's take it apart. Conscious, subconscious, and body. They operate quite different. The conscious mind is the part that we think with. That's the highest function we're capable of. And the truth is, most people don't think. I remember Earl Nightingale used to say if the average person said what they were thinking, they'd be speechless. You know, you hear that and you say, well, everybody thinks. Well, do they? Start listening to the conversations that are going on around you. And then ask yourself, would they say that if they were thinking? Watch their behavior. Would they do what they were doing if they were thinking? You see, this is the educated mind. This is where we store the book stuff that we gain in school. This is where our intellect is resident. Go and ask the next 10 people you meet what their intellectual factors are. What are the highest faculties of the mind? Most people don't know. And they have no idea of how the emotional mind works. You'll see people getting emotionally upset. Why? Because they're not in charge of their emotions. See, you and I have the ability to choose how we're going to live. And that choice is made in our own consciousness. That's right. We have the ability to accept or reject any information. Now, the problem is, because of the way we're programmed, we reject what we should be accepting, and we accept what we should be rejecting. Now, that may sound strange, but we'll talk about it again in a minute. This is the part of you that has the ability to originate. Your conscious mind can originate information, and whatever it originates, the subconscious must accept. It has absolutely no ability to reject. It just accepts it. Your psych major, it's totally deductive. The subconscious mind cannot determine the difference between that which is imagined and that which is real. Now, there is the most important information you'll ever get. Let's see how we use it. Here, let's say, here we are today, all right? We're getting inundated in our conscious mind with information from the newspaper, from radio, from other people. It's just dumping in. Now, we have the ability, because we have a reasoning factor, that's one of the higher faculties, we have the ability to think. And we can listen to what's going on in the news. And then we should ask ourselves, if I listen to that and get emotionally involved in that, is that going to improve the quality of my life? Is it going to build profits in my business? Is it going to help me solve any of my problems? The truth is, it's not. It's all bad news. You know why? People are programmed to accept bad news. That's why they project it. Okay? Now, we should say, I'm going to reject that. Just get rid of it. But we don't do that. Why don't we? Well, we don't do it because we don't think. And we leave our mind wide open. That's our paradigm that's causing us to do that. We're literally programmed to leave our mind open and just let whatever comes along dump into it. Now, why do we do that? Well, let's take a look at how we've been programmed. Here we are as infants. Now, when people start to understand this, their life changes like night and day. As an infant, that's not how we look. There's no conscious faculties. You get a little baby, the baby is not consciously aware of what's going on. The baby's subconscious mind is wide open. You can teach the baby anything you want. Whatever's going on around that baby goes right into that baby's mind. That's right. It has no ability to reject it. You can take a baby out of a white Anglo-Saxon home in New York City and take that baby and put it in the suburb of Beijing, and that white Anglo-Saxon baby would grow up fluent in Chinese with no knowledge of the English language, even though its parents English speaking. Why? Because that's what the baby's subjected to. The baby grow up liking the food that the people liked that surrounded the baby. We don't make a choice about what we like. We accept what we're given. We don't have a choice. Do you know that this information just keeps dumping in? Now, almost all welfare recipients are third, fourth, fifth generation welfare recipients. The information just keeps dumping into the mind. In fact, this is how an individual's self-image is formed, in the little life. Why do you think some people are so shy and quiet and withdrawn? They're God's highest form of creation, and they're afraid of their shadow. It's called paradigms. We're programmed to live this way. We're not programmed to think. You do what you're told. You listen. You look at this way. You listen to what I'm telling you. That's the way we've been raised. So is it any wonder today that we wander around like that, just leaving our mind wide open to whatever's going on? You see, the conscious mind has hooked up to its sensory factors. And those sensory factors are how we're programmed. All right? We're programmed to live through our senses. You go by what's going on outside. You take a look at your present resources, and that dictates your goals. You haven't got any money. You don't set a big money goal. You see? You say, I can't afford it. Now, the truth is, there's an infinite source of supply. If we start to understand that this is our intellectual mind, and these are our intellectual factors, and when we start to develop these, we start to develop the power that God gave us. We're the highest form of creation on the planet. Yet it's the utilization of these faculties that enable people to live an absolutely incredible life. And through the proper use of the intellect, and this is what thinking into results gets into, we show people how to get rid of that paradigm. How to get rid of the program that controls their life and start to live the way they choose. They create the image they want. They reprogram their subconscious mind. And when they do that, their behavior changes, and so does their results. Now, how does this all happen? Well, let's stop and think about it. There's only two known ways to change a paradigm. One is an emotional impact, which rarely happens, but it does happen on occasion. And the other is the repetition of an idea. See, it was through repetition that we were programmed when we were infants. Now, how does repetition work when changing paradigms? Well, it's all on our programs. It's on audio, DVD, and written works. Now, let the white line represent the sound of a CD or a DVD playing. The red line is going to represent you listening to the sound of the CD playing. Now, understand this. There's a difference between listening and hearing. You listen with your emotions. You hear with your ears. And so you're going along and listening, and bang, an idea strikes you, and away you go on a thought trip. Now, you still hear what's going on, but you're not listening. You're up here on a thought frequency. Do you ever have your spouse or partner talk to you, and you grunt like you've heard them, and you don't even know what they're talking about? They say, you weren't listening to me, were you? You say, no, I was listening. Well, the truth is you weren't. You were off on a thought trip. Then you come back down, and you start listening. And you go along for a little ways, and bingo, another idea strikes. And off you go on a thought trip. And that's sort of the way it works. Do you know that you could listen to the same CD for a month and only really get emotionally involved with a couple of ideas on there? Well, that's how people change. That's how our life changes. Now, this program is designed to get results. And it's not designed to get results by accident. I mean, this is a program that was built by a very bright person who took knowledge that I had gained over 40-some years and organized it and said, I want you to talk about this, I want you to talk about that. Thinking into result is the result of phenomenal research. There's 12 very powerful paradigms changing the person's life. These are paradigm-changing DVDs with comprehensive action plans. And there's the lady that designed it. Now, how did this happen? Well, it's like I said, in 2006 she came into a seminar. She had been searching. With all the education she had, she has degrees, doctorate's degrees in law, coming right off the end of her business card. But she said, I wasn't satisfied. I wasn't that happy about my life. I didn't know much about me. I knew a lot about case study. I knew a lot about mergers and acquisitions and turning companies public, but I didn't know much about me. And she started to listen to me, and her world started to change. And she made up her mind at some point She was going to learn everything that I knew. Now, I'm going to let her finish telling you the story and tell you how this program was built. Now, as you watch this program, you'll think I made it. That's because I'm on camera a lot. But I did not make it. This lady designed the packaging. She designed the program. She got the information together that she wanted on it. She produced it. She directed it. And she edited it. And it took her a couple of years. But she put everything, including her money, into it. And when I was finished doing this, I got to know her fairly well. And I thought, man, this lady's gray matter is really in high gear. And I asked her if she'd take over as president and chief executive officer of our group of companies. And she accepted. And over the past 3+ years, she has literally changed the direction of Life Success Productions. Our future is huge. Our company is organized. It's sound. And I'm going to ask you, Sandy, to take over and explain the next part of this program.
Thank you, Bob. This information is so incredibly powerful. I just love listening to Bob when he's teaching. You know, I keep flashing back to it was almost 6 years ago when I first saw Bob in seminar, and I had the idea of thinking into results, and now here we have over 5,000 people registered for this webinar to talk about being a facilitator for the Thinking into Results program, and it blows my mind on one hand, but on the other hand, when I understand, you know, what we teach is so powerful, you can achieve anything with it, and I know that's exactly how it happens. And I am really proud of Thinking into Results, not just because it's been received so well around the world, but because of all the incredibly valuable lessons that it teaches and that it taught me. I mean, it changed my life dramatically. I was definitely one of the people in that 2 to 3% of the population that was doing well. I couldn't tell you why. I just was doing well. But, you know, I was practicing I was in boardrooms. I was in executive offices for over 2 decades, working with some really smart people with lots of degrees and lots of schooling, but they weren't making it happen. Some of them were, but there were so many that weren't making it happen, and I saw it all the time, and they had all that knowledge, but they couldn't execute on it, and they were frustrated, and I didn't know how to help them. And, you know, then I found myself in this seminar. It was August 18th, 2006. It'll be 6 years this summer. And I got it. I finally got it, what was going on. And it was Bob Proctor conducting this seminar. The first time I had ever seen him, and just teaching me incredibly powerful, transformational information that I had never heard before, even though I had incredible education in the U.S. and in the U.K. and you know, lots of advanced degrees studying and whatnot. But I never learned this, and I was like, how could that be? And Bob put this slide up, and it really got it to sink in why talented, smart people could fail. And he brought the slide up. It said, school gave us valuable knowledge. However, school never taught us how to alter our paradigms. Therefore, we frequently do not do what we already know how to do. And then he said, superior knowledge, inferior results causes confusion. And it was just like a light went on, and I'm like, oh my gosh. That is why there's so much confusion and frustration. You see people in the boardroom, executive officers, they're communicating but not effectively. They've got big ideas, but they just can't figure out how to execute on them. They're falling so short from what they could achieve. Superior knowledge, inferior results causes confusion. And then Bob brought up a graphic illustration of this very point, the stick person diagram. He brought it up, and he showed all these wonderful books and knowledge in the conscious mind, but he said that is not what is determining the results. You can have all this great knowledge in your conscious mind, but it won't determine the results. What determines the results? Well, it's the paradigm that's lodged in your subconscious mind. At that point, I didn't even know what a paradigm was, and here it's controlling every result in my life. And he said, the paradigm gives you the result. If you want to change the result, You have to change the paradigm. You've got to get a new paradigm. And I was just, my mind was just really going crazy. See, that's what Ruskin was talking about in this beautiful quote where he says, education does not mean teaching people what they do not know. It means teaching them to behave as they do not behave. And I had never thought of it that way. And I started just sort of, my mind was going through the 2 decades in the boardroom and the executive offices, and I thought, my God, this is such valuable information. And I thought of the different results, the better results that my clients could get. And then my mind really started expanding on going way beyond my clients. And I decided right then and there, I'm going to study everything that this guy's got. I mean, I'm really going to study it. I'm going to get so involved in this to where I really understand it because it was all so new. And I was sitting there wondering to myself, well, what kind of programs does he have? So I started researching and saw that Bob had a year-long coaching program, so I signed up for that, and I really got into it. I saw he had a consultant certification program, so I took that and really got into that. And, I know that Bob had created a number of different programs, and I went through every one, Mission and Commission, Goal Achiever, Winner's Image, Born Rich, you name it. I studied every single one, and I studied it like a scientist. And you know what I found? I found that this company, Bob Proctor Life Success Productions, absolutely produced the best in the industry. These programs got results where the other programs didn't. And as I was studying the programs, if we just go back a little on the slides here, there was one theme that was very clear, and that is that we must begin to think. And I thought I knew how to think. That's why I went to law school. That's what it was all about. But no, this was thinking in a different way. See, because thinking is the highest function that we're capable of performing. And yet as I flashed through those boardrooms and executive offices, I saw all these super smart people, and I thought, my God, there is so little thinking in the way that's going to get results. And I thought, I got to bring Bob Proctor's material to them, and in a way that they would really open up their minds and say, yes, this is what we need. And that's what thinking into results is. See, when people begin to think, results change. And we have a tendency when things are going on and we're recognizing this isn't what we want to fight it. We literally want to fight existing reality. And this is another slide that Bob brought up, Buckminster Fuller, genius. Total genius, just a great thinker. He created the geodesic dome, and he said, never change things by fighting the existing reality. To change things, you want to build a new model that makes the existing model obsolete. See, we don't fight it, we build a new model, and that's what thinking into results is. It's a new model for thinking, a new model for getting results, whether it's in a company, in a family, in a school, anywhere with an individual. Now, there are 12 powerful transformational lessons in thinking into results. The first one is on worthy goals, because, we're all accustomed to setting goals. We're all accustomed to thinking about goals. Not to say everyone does it, but we're accustomed to doing it. People talk about it. But here's the deal. With thinking into results, we get people to think about setting and achieving goals in a much bigger, new, and expanded way. And to understand that it's not about what we get as we achieve the goals. It's about who we become. And I love the example. We worked with an engineering company. They were all men, very, very left brain, very focused on books and analytics. And we got them to think about goals very differently. See, we encouraged them to set a goal that was way bigger than they thought they could achieve even in a year. But we wanted them to achieve it in 6 months. And they put up huge resistance. Can't do it, got to do it. We know we can do. But we got them to set this goal that they would achieve in 6 months. And 4 weeks after working the program, they achieved the goal. It blew their minds. Now, how did they do it? Because they were working through the lessons, and each lesson builds on the other. The second lesson is on the knowing-doing gap. Now, we talked about that. We've got all this knowledge. Why isn't it reflected in our results? Because we're not doing what we know how to do. We're not doing it. Or we're doing things that we know we shouldn't do, and we're not getting the results we want. Knowing doing gap gets people to understand it. When you understand it, you can change it. You can close the gap. Lesson 3 builds right on top of that, the power of the mind. When I was listening to Bob Proctor, I was learning so much about the mind that I had never learned before, going through the best education I thought you could get. See, the average person doesn't know how the mind functions, and yet it's the greatest power in all of creation. With thinking into results, they understand it. They learn how to use their mind and get the results they want. Now, lesson 4 is the secret genie. That's what Bob was teaching us just a few minutes ago on the stick person and the power of understanding this model that brings order to our mind, and order is everything. It's how we achieve everything. This lesson alone, lesson 4, is hugely transformational. It is among the very top of anything I have ever learned. And I know there are executives all over the world that would say the same thing. Now, lesson 5, thinking into results. Here's where we really get them using their intellectual faculties and thinking into results. We don't think in the results. We look at the results, and we let the results dictate what we're going to do, what we're going to think, how we're going to feel. Here, we're switching it. We're thinking into results. Now, lesson 6, this one might look like, what the heck is that doing there? Environment? See, James Allen, he said environment really is our looking glass. You see, it's a direct reflection of what's going on inside. It's a direct reflection of our self-image. And, of course, when we're working with a team, whether it be a family team or a company team, any kind of team has its self-image. It's a team image that's a composite of everyone else's self-image. So this lesson 6 is critical, and it teaches people the power of the image they hold and how to create an image that is in harmony with the good that they desire, with the results that they want. Now, lesson 7 is, if I had to pick one, I'd say it was my favorite, and that's on dealing with fear. And we're going to come back to that one, so just hold on that one for a second. Lesson 8 is the power of praxis. Now, most people don't even know what the word praxis means, and so if you're one of those people, don't feel bad at all. Most people don't. But see, praxis is the integration of belief with behavior. And until you do that, until you integrate your belief with your behavior, results are not going to be predictable. At least you're not going to be predictably getting the results that you want. So what we do with thinking into results is we teach people how to get empowering beliefs that are in harmony with their goal, with what they want, and then how to integrate that belief with their behavior. And the results are astonishing, truly. Now, lesson 9 is the magic word. What is the magic word? Magic word is attitude. And you know, you hear all the time things like attitude is everything. Watch your attitude. You know, but if you were to walk down the street, just give this a try, walk down the street, the first 10 people you meet, you ask them what is attitude, it would be very surprising to get anybody who knew what it was. Our attitude is our thoughts, our feelings, and our actions. And when we've got a phenomenal attitude, our thoughts, feelings, and actions are all in harmony, and they're all aligned with the good we desire. And when that happens, truly we're unstoppable. Now, lesson 10 is leadership. Leadership. Now, the most valuable person is the leader. And what thinking into results does is it teaches how to bring the leader out in everyone. Everyone is a leader. And when a leader grasps lesson 11, then they are really smoking. Lesson 11 is on the impression of increase. If I had to pick well, the first person that pops to my mind when I think of leaving people the impression of increase and mastering that is Bob Proctor. I mean, truly, he leaves everyone with the impression of increase. It's leaving everyone with the idea that by knowing you, by coming into contact with you, by having you in their life, they are better off. You are in the way of increase, and you move that increase to them. And when a leader really gets this, then they can produce magical results. They're the tuned-in ones, the ones really making it happen, because this truly is the secret of success, leaving everyone with the impression of increase. And then lesson 12 is the, well, this lesson, it's some of, like those engineers just came to my mind because they were like, ooh, magnifying the mind, and we told them we're going to teach them about masterminding, and they're like, ooh, that sounds scary. But when we got them to work in mastermind groups and to understand that when you put two or more minds together, you create a third mind that is so far more powerful, and you can produce such amazing results. They started doing it, and they love it, and said that this was the most powerful lesson for them. Now, they're all powerful lessons. They all build on each other. They all get who you're working with to take that worthy goal that they're trading their lives for, that they're giving their lives to, and to achieve it, to manifest it in the world. Now, I want to go back to terror barrier, because that one really is special to me, because as I said, thinking into results, it totally transformed my life. I mean, it just completely changed it. And the terror barrier, what the name of this lesson is actually, it's Trample the Terror Barrier, identifying and avoiding the landmine that will sabotage your success. And it does, it sabotages most people's success. What is the terror barrier? If you think about it, we talked about the stick person, we talked about the paradigm. Well, let the paradigm be the X-type energy. Think of it as the X-type energy. And so what we're doing is we're saying, okay, I want to make a quantum leap. I want to make a big change in my life. I really want to figure out my purpose and do something big. Or as a company, I want to take it to the next level. That's the Y idea. Okay, let that be the Y-type image. Now, when the Y-type image is impressed on the subconscious mind for expression or execution, in other words, you're getting really emotionally involved in this idea, you're really impressing it on your subconscious part of your personality. What happens? Well, that X and Y-type energy, they don't mix. They don't mix at all. And so what happens is your central nervous system is impacted, and it sets up this chaotic vibration. It affects you on all the levels of your personality, intellectually, emotionally, physically, doubt, fear, and anxiety strike. This is hitting the terror barrier. And if you want to be in this industry and you're thinking this, oh, this program sounds so good, I really want to do it, and you're getting emotionally involved with it, you're thinking, listening to Bob, listen to him after I'm done here, I'm going to hand it back to him, he's going to talk to you about what you can really achieve in this industry, which is just amazing, and you want to do it, but all of a sudden you're feeling this discomfort in your body, this fear, worry, doubt, anxiety. That's the terror barrier. So fast forward, you know, Bob said in January 2009, but a little over 3 years ago, he asked me to be the CEO of the group of companies. There were 19 companies. And I had a thriving law practice, but I jumped at the opportunity. I said, you bet, because I learned about this industry. I learned the power of what we teach, the programs we have at Life Success with Bob Proctor. And I said, absolutely, I will do it. And I did. But here's what I did. I kept up my law practice. And I kept it up. And I kept it up. And 4.5 months later, Bob says, what are you doing? And I said, well, what do you mean? He said, well, what are you doing? Are you in or are you out? And I said, what do you mean am I in or I'm out, you know, playing dumb? He said, you're still running your law practice full time and you're running 19 companies. What are you thinking? And he said, you can't do both. And I thought, well, yeah, I can do both. And I tried to talk him into it. And he said, I see. You know, just that Bob Proctor, I see. And I said, okay, fine. I knew I couldn't do both. So I sat down and I wrote a really powerful letter, and I queued it all up in my email to 2,000 of my clients and colleagues of what I was doing. I was going to follow my dream. I'm going to close my law practice, and I had it all queued up. And my central nervous system went berserk. And I'm like, I can't do it. And there's nothing worse then when you understand what's going on and you know you have to push through that terror barrier, it's the way to freedom. You have to do it. And then you're stuck. You can't do it. So I said, okay. And I called Bob and I said, Bob, I can't do it. I can't do it. And then I heard this deep, booming voice. And he said, jump. You'll develop wings along the way. Just jump. Hit send. And the minute he said it, I hit send. And I heard that zing when an email goes off, and I, just shrieked. I actually think I screamed. I probably burst one of his eardrums. But I said, I'm thinking, oh, my gosh, what did I do? What did I do? And in 24 hours, I had 892 responses back. I wish I had that kind of passion. I wish I could do something like that. I wish I had that kind of purpose, that enthusiasm. But that never would have happened if I hadn't have jumped through that terror barrier. Think of it, you jumping through that terror barrier, and you're through it, and you've done it, and the power of making that decision and acting on it. It is a transformational lesson on dealing with fear. And when you're working with people on this, working with companies, you change lives. You literally transform lives. And all that hard work I did, all that studying like a scientist, all that commitment, it paid off. And I'm now in one of the most wonderful positions, I think, ever, that you could ever have in the greatest industry. And if you're even thinking about being in this industry, come on in. Seriously, it's great. Now, it's absolutely essential that when you do come into this industry that you be well trained. And so when Bob and I were talking about our goal for Thinking into Results, and it was to bring it to millions of people around the world, and we determined that the very best way of doing that was to train people to facilitate the program. And so we created a facilitation program. And one of the best things that we ever did was to bring on an executive director for the program. And she is a wonderful person, extremely well qualified, over 12 years in psychotherapy and business coaching, also coaching children, working with professional athletes, corporate teams, sales teams, not just working with them, but also training them. And trained and certified in hypnotherapy, in EFT, in coaching. She's also a certified, of course, Thinking into Results facilitator and life success consultant, served as the president of the Colorado Hypnotherapists Association for several years, was an associate instructor for the Colorado School of Counseling and Hypnotherapy, co-founded numerous programs including Clearing the Chaos, a drug-free curriculum for children and adults. I mean, you name it, the list goes on. This woman is amazing. Rebecca Armstrong is the director of our Thinking into Results Facilitator program. And if you make the wonderful decision of getting certified and being in the program, you'll get to know Rebecca very, very well, and you will love, love, love working with her. Now, the training program that we've put together is a virtual training program, which means no travel is required. You can do this all in a virtual university, online, in the comfort of your own home or your own office, wherever you choose to study it. It's a 6-month program. The minute you make the decision, you start getting involved, you start getting valuable information, and you start the learning process. And it coordinates extremely well with the busy schedule. You don't have to have any coaching or mentoring background. You can become a Thinking into Results facilitator and consultant and get phenomenal results without any background at all. I have excelled in this industry with zero background. We have the best training programs out there, absolutely, bar none. You'll learn how to structure your business, market your business, build your business. You'll learn at all different levels, basic, intermediate, and advanced level facilitation. You get all the materials. I mean, think of it. You cannot believe all you get for this. You get all the materials you need for your business. You get your business cards. You get your your client forms, your client participation materials, PowerPoints, brochures. It goes on, and you get a meticulous and incredibly thorough leader and facilitation guides, and this is a huge bonus, starter inventory. You get 5 of the Thinking into Results participant kits. You get private training calls with Bob, with myself, of course with Rebecca, with others on our team, and it's just a phenomenal, phenomenal training program. And there is so much that you can achieve in this industry. Now with that, I want to turn it back over to Bob. Bob, I'd love you to talk to us some more about this opportunity and really what it is.
Well, thank you very much, Sandy. And it's too bad everybody can't get to know you better. They will as they get involved, because you've made such a phenomenal difference in the company, as Rebecca has as well. I'm going to ask you to ask yourself, have you ever seriously asked yourself why? Why do some people earn so much more than others? You know, I asked myself that question time and time again when I wasn't earning any money. And I used to think people were lucky. Then I used to think that maybe they just had the right connections. But as I started to study this information, I started to understand that there was actually a law of compensation. Emerson wrote an entire essay on it. And the law of compensation is very, very obvious. It's very clear. The law of compensation clearly states that the amount of money you can earn will always be an exact ratio to the need for what you do, your ability to do it, and the difficulty there will be in replacing you. Do you know that no one can earn the amount of money a salesperson can earn? Now, you may be sitting thinking, well, I don't want to be a salesperson. Everyone sells, and this has to be sold. And when you do, you're selling something that is, the need is enormous. Everywhere you go today, almost every company you go into, they're struggling. People are struggling. This is what they need. This is the answer for them. They start to understand the laws of the universe, the laws of their being. And this is what we teach people. There's a greater need for this than almost anything you can think of. Therefore, the potential to earn is enormous. So that need is there, and we didn't have anything to do with that. The second step is your ability to fill that need. Now, we believe we have the best training program in the world. I have been in this industry now for 45 years. I have worked with some of the greatest individuals in this entire world in this industry. I had the very good fortune of working side by side with Earl Nightingale and Lloyd Conant for 5 years, the founders of the Nightingale Conant Corporation. So I learned things that you just couldn't place a value on, and I pass all that along. And if you will follow our direction and follow the training that Rebecca and ourselves have put together, you're going to develop the ability to fill that need. And when you do, you're going to become very difficult to replace. Now, no one's indispensable, but some people are very hard to replace. And when they are, their stock goes up. So there is the focus right there. The focus is develop your ability to fill the need. Become a master at what you do. Now, Vincent Roazzi one time said, to change your life, you have to change your life. You know, that's not just a play on words. You might want to think about that for a while. Now, here is the opportunity. A certified thinking into result facilitator consultant has the opportunity to earn a very high income and at the same time gain tremendous satisfaction from their efforts. I think I've already mentioned there's two forms of income that we require. One's material and the other psychic. The material income is the money we earn. The psychic income is the satisfaction we get from how we spend our days. Now, Thinking into Results program that you saw pictures of there, a facilitator cost is $395. However, that's not what you sell this for. And you don't just turn around and sell the program. What we've done is put together a program, a Thinking into Results program, coupled with a 13-week facilitated course. Costs a client anywhere from $2,500 to $7,500. Now, the difference is the clientele that you're selling and your level of expertise. As you get better at it, your price is going to go up. Now, it's a 13-week program. You might work with one person, or you might work with half a dozen people. You see, when a consultant facilitates a group class, the fees accelerate substantially. Now, I teach thousands at a time today. If I do it, you can do it. Anything I'm doing, you can do. And I willingly share everything I know with anyone that seriously wants to learn. Now look at that for a moment. 13 weeks, you spend about an hour a week facilitating the program. Now, it's their program. They get the program. And you tell them how to use it for the next week. You don't have to know everything in it. You just have to know how to tell them how to use it. And that's what we train you in. Now think of this for a moment. Sandy's already mentioned, with your investment, you receive 5 complete programs. Now, if you take that back and equate it at the very lowest fee of $2,500, you'll see that that comes to $12,500. Your total investment for this, the training and everything, is $12,500. Now, we say only because that is a very low amount of money to find yourself in a very beautiful business. Now, if a person has difficulty, we have terms available. Why do we put a price on? We put a price on because we want a serious commitment from an individual, and we want them seriously studying it. Now, if there's more information you want, you can go to bobproctor.com/facilitating-consulting. Now, think of this for a moment. If you were conducting a class here, you would be earning many thousands of dollars. And that's how this works. You see, you multiply your income by setting up multiple sources of income. Now, you could be listening and say, God, I think I'd really love to do this. Well, Joseph Campbell put it very well. He said, the cave you fear to enter holds the treasure that you seek. That's an interesting statement. Where are we now? Well, we're at that point where we make a decision. And we're trying to decide, what is it that I really want to do? Because when you make a decision of what you want to do, your whole world starts to shift. There's nothing complicated about it, but you have to ask yourself that question. What do I want to do? Now, you can take the road that goes to the left and go back to where you were, or you can take the road and go to the right. Take the road I took. I have had an absolutely phenomenal career. I work all over the world. I can go anywhere with what I know and what I teach. And I can earn myself an excellent income. So you spend your days doing what you love, and that's helping other people. Albert Einstein quoted, that's all you have to do in life. You help other people. That's the purpose of life, is serving others. Now, I'm going to suggest that you don't ask anyone what they think you should do. You see, one of the very cardinal principles in thinking into result is go inside. Make your own decisions. Gather information. We've given you information. You want more information? All you have to do is go to that site. Go to bobproctor.com/facilitating-consulting. And just leave your information, and we'll phone and we'll answer any personal questions you have. This is an incredible business. You will absolutely love it. You can work at it part-time or you can work at it full-time. You can work in a small town or a major city. We have people in South Africa. We have people in South America. We have people throughout Europe, all over North America. This is a business. I made the decision to come into this business 45 years ago. I made an investment, and I took Earl Nightingale's program, and I went to work. And 45 years later, I'm doing exactly what he did. And possibly 45 years from now, you'll be doing exactly what I'm doing. This is a tremendous business. It's a tremendous opportunity. Go and give us your name. Let us sit down and talk to you. You'll be glad you did. This is Bob Proctor, and thank you. I want to thank Sandy for your tremendous presentation tonight. You are so good at what you do. I want to thank Rebecca and Cheryl and everybody that had to do with setting this up. Good night, everyone.